Ready to dive deep? Today we're exploring Autobiography of a Yogi, a book that's been captivating readers for decades. It's about the life and teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda.
What I find fascinating about this book is how it blends personal experiences with these really deep spiritual concepts. It's both a captivating memoir and a guide to exploring bigger truths.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical autobiography. And we're going to unpack some of the most intriguing parts. So, let's start at the beginning, right?
Mhm.
With Yogananda's childhood in India. Even as a kid, he had this, yearning for the Himalayas and these experiences that kind of pointed towards a past life as a yogi.
And that's where it gets interesting right from the start. Yogananda's belief in reincarnation, it wasn't just theoretical for him. It was a lived experience, vivid memories, almost like flashbacks to a previous life, devoted to yoga. Can you imagine the impact of that? Carrying the wisdom and experiences of a past life into your present one.
Whoa, yeah, that's a pretty intense way to start your life. Makes you wonder about the possibilities, doesn't it? And then there's this incredible story about his mother. She was deeply devoted to her guru, Lahiri Mahasaya, and this devotion actually saved Yogananda's life when he was really sick.
It's a powerful story, no doubt. It speaks to the strength of belief, right?
Right.
His mother basically willed him back to health through her faith. And by having him focus on a picture of Lahiri Mahasaya, I mean, whether you take it literally or metaphorically, it really highlights this connection between the mind, belief, and our experience of reality.
It really does make you stop and think, about the power of the mind and things beyond our everyday understanding. And then this deep connection between Yogananda's mother and Lahiri Mahasaya, it's emphasized even more in the story of her death. She leaves Yogananda with this message, almost like a prophecy about his life path and his spiritual journey.
It's incredibly moving, It suggests this level of awareness that goes beyond the physical. It makes you question, the nature of time, consciousness, and even communication beyond death.
Yeah, it definitely gives you chills, especially when you realize this is just the first chapter. But it doesn't stop there. As Yogananda grows up, he meets all these amazing people, saints, yogis, each with their own unique abilities and insights. It's like entering a whole other world, one where the boundaries of reality seem to blur.
Right, and that's what's so captivating about this book. Yogananda is giving us a glimpse into India's diverse spiritual heritage. He's meeting people who can do extraordinary things, things that might seem impossible, even fantastical to a Western mind.
Like what? Can you give me an example?
Well, there's the story of the saint with two bodies. Yogananda meets this saint who can appear in two different places at the same time, this thing called bilocation. It challenges our understanding of space and time, suggesting a reality beyond what we normally perceive.
Okay, that's definitely stretching my understanding of what's possible.
Exactly. And then there's the tiger Swanee, a guy who, in his younger days, wrestled tigers with his bare hands. Talk about a wild past, right? But then he transitioned to conquering his inner passions, and became a spiritual teacher.
From battling literal tigers to, battling metaphorical ones, that's quite the journey. It really speaks to transformation, doesn't it? That someone from such a different world could find their way to a life of spiritual seeking.
Totally. It highlights that human struggle, the inner battles we all face, no matter what our lives look like on the outside. And then, of course, there's the perfume saint, Gandab. This one is just mind-boggling.
Oh yeah, Gandab. He could materialize scents out of thin air. Roses, jasmine, anything you can imagine. How's that even possible?
It's a fascinating example of what the human mind can do, the way it can interact with the physical world in ways we just don't fully understand yet. Even Yogananda was amused and intrigued by him.
It makes you wonder what else might be possible. What other hidden potentials we might have within us. So where do we go from here? After all these encounters, what happens next for Yogananda?
Well, it's like all these encounters were preparing him for something bigger. Next, we delve into this pivotal chapter of his life, meeting his guru, Sri Yukteswar, and learning about Kriya Yoga. This is where his spiritual path really starts to take shape. So Yogananda describes this first meeting with Sri Yukteswar like it was life-changing. He finally found that missing piece he'd been searching for his whole life.
It sounds like their connection was instant. Yogananda talks about this overwhelming sense of peace and purpose just being around Sri Yukteswar. He finally found his way home.
Yeah, it really highlights that idea of finding your true guru, that spiritual guide who helps you unlock your full potential, And Sri Yukteswar initiated Yogananda into Kriya Yoga, this powerful technique, he says, for speeding up spiritual growth.
We've mentioned Kriya Yoga a couple of times, but to be honest, I'm still a little unclear on what it actually is. What does practicing Kriya Yoga actually look like?
Well, it's basically a set of breathing and meditation practices. They're meant to help you experience a deeper connection with the divine. What's unique about Kriya Yoga is its emphasis on a scientific approach. You learn specific techniques and practice them systematically, almost like, a workout routine, but for your spirit.
So it's not just sitting there and chanting Om. There's a real method to it.
Exactly. It combines breathing exercises with specific mantras and visualizations. And Sri Yukteswar didn't just teach Yogananda about Kriya Yoga, he also explained these complex concepts, like karma and reincarnation, ideas that can be, pretty hard to grasp.
I was just going to ask about that. Those are ideas I've always struggled with. Reincarnation, coming back to live another life. It's a lot to process.
It definitely challenges our typical understanding of life and death. But Sri Yukteswar explained these things in a way that makes sense. He talked about karma as cause and effect. Our actions create ripples that shape our future experiences, whether in this life or in future ones.
So it's not about some cosmic scorecard where you're being judged for your actions, but more like this ongoing cycle of learning and growth across multiple lifetimes.
Exactly. It emphasizes personal responsibility and the interconnectedness of everything. Our actions have consequences, not just for ourselves, but for the world around us. And this idea of reincarnation, well, it suggests we have multiple chances to learn, evolve, and reach our full potential.
It's making me think about things in a whole new way, that's for sure. And then there's this story about a sleepless saint in this section. What's that all about? Any tips for staying awake during long meditations?
So Yogananda meets this saint who claimed he hadn't slept in years. He was in this constant state of what he called ecstatic consciousness. Imagine a state beyond our normal waking or dreaming, where you experience pure joy and connection to something larger. That's what this saint cultivated.
Wow, that's intense. I can barely stay awake past 10 p.m. It sounds like this guy was on another level of awareness.
He definitely challenges our ideas about what the human mind and body are capable of, through dedicated spiritual practice. And speaking of challenging assumptions, we can't forget Yogananda's meeting with the famous botanist Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose.
That's where science and spirituality come together, right?
Yeah.
Boses' research on the sentience of plants. Pretty amazing stuff.
Bose's work was groundbreaking. His experiments showed how plants respond to stimuli. They can even experience emotions in their own way. Plants weren't just passive organisms, they were sensitive, responsive beings.
Wait, plants have feelings? That's wild. I knew there was something special about my houseplants.
It's a radical concept, but Bose actually had scientific evidence to back it up. Yogananda saw this research as proof of the interconnectedness of all living things. It blurs the line between the material and the spiritual. Maybe consciousness exists in forms we haven't even begun to understand.
It makes you wonder, right? About all the hidden wonders of the universe, about the possibility of consciousness beyond us. So up to this point, Yogananda's journey is mostly in India, but then he feels this calling to spread Kriya Yoga to the West. This feels like a turning point.
Absolutely. It's a big shift in his life and a pivotal moment for yoga in the West. He believed that these spiritual truths were universal, applicable to everyone. And he wanted to bridge East and West, sharing the wisdom of India with a whole new audience.
Okay, so picking up where we left off, I'm still thinking about all those incredible people Yogananda met. It's like he was meant to cross paths with some of the most fascinating sadhus of his time.
It really is like his life was woven together with all these remarkable connections. And as he's bridging East and West, his mission, well, it really takes off. He even has this incredible encounter with, it's a figure almost as legendary as Yogananda himself, Babaji.
Wait, Babaji, as in the immortal Himalayan yogi, the one who supposedly initiated, Lahiri Mahasaya, Yogananda's guru, into Kriya Yoga.
The one and only. Yogananda says that Babaji appeared to him, not in the Himalayas, but right there in America, to guide him, and confirm his mission of bringing Kriya Yoga to the West.
Oh, that's wild. An immortal yogi in America. It sounds like something out of a myth.
It definitely stretches the limits of what we might consider believable. But for Yogananda, this encounter, it really cemented his purpose. It fueled his dedication to share these ancient teachings.
I can only imagine how powerful that experience must have been. Talk about validation.
Yeah.
And from there, Yogananda really focused on building his legacy, right?
Definitely. Writing became a huge focus for him. Autobiography of a Yogi, the book we've been exploring, became a classic, captivating readers with its blend of personal stories and like these profound insights. He also wrote tons of other books and articles diving into the philosophy of yoga, interpreting scriptures, and even showing how to apply these spiritual principles to daily life.
So he wasn't just a charismatic teacher. He was a writer, too, making sure his teachings could reach more people and have a lasting impact.
For sure. But he didn't stop there. Yogananda also established the Self-Realization Fellowship, or SRF, to preserve and share his teachings. It's an organization for spiritual seekers. He created a clear path for those who wanted to learn and practice Kriya Yoga. That way, the lineage and the techniques would be passed on correctly.
It sounds like he was a visionary and a great organizer, too, making sure his work could continue. It's amazing how much he achieved.
He was incredibly dedicated. But his true legacy, it's not just about what he built on the outside, it's about the people he touched with his teachings. His emphasis on universal spiritual truth, the power of meditation, the potential for self-realization. These ideas resonated with people from all walks of life, regardless of their background.
And it's a legacy that continues to spread, influencing how we think about spirituality, consciousness, the possibilities of human potential. This deep dive has been eye-opening, a journey through the life of an incredible person who really changed the world.
It really has been a pleasure exploring this with you. Yogananda's story, it's a testament to searching for truth, to connecting across cultures, to the amazing potential of the human spirit.
It leaves you with a sense of wonder, inspiration, like you want to explore the mysteries of life even more, maybe even embark on your own journey of self-discovery. Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep seeking that light within.